All right, we should be live, guys. Feel like it's been a hot minute since we talked about daily fantasy sports. It's even a hotter minute since we're on here together. So we are going to run a members only video free to the public. Thinking Saturday we'll get back onto like normal types of thing. You got a wedding tomorrow and things like that. So we're going to roll tonight. This is free for everyone. We appreciate y'all watching. Click that thumbs up button, and then we'll see you guys for normal stuff come Saturday.
Yeah. Not my wedding, just so everyone's clear. A friend's wedding that we are going to.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoyed your break. Got to watch the home run derby, everything like that. We got some baseball to talk over, and let's jump right in.
Let's get it. Big slate. I've barely looked over it, so I'm excited to go over it with you.
I've looked over it a little bit, not a ton. As far as pitching goes, obviously when you get a big slate like this, we got a bunch of good pitchers. No Jacob deGrom, no Max Scherzer. We got some guys who pitched in the All-Star break and things like that. As far as the guys up top go, I've been all over Kevin Gausman's jock all season long. He's been nothing short of fantastic. I'm a huge Brandon Woodruff fan. Robbie Ray has been a guy of mine for a long time. As far as these top three go, I'm actually a Robbie Ray fan on the specific slate.
Yeah, I think Robbie Ray's the top option here. I'm surprised you don't have Gausman as your top option.
I would throw Gausman over Woodruff.
Same, but I'm surprised you don't have him as your top guy.
I like the matchup with Texas, everything like that. I have no arguments with anybody who wants to use Kevin Gausman. He has been spectacular, and if it wasn't for Jacob deGrom, I think he'd be the NL Cy Young right now.
Yeah, same.
So he's been awesome. I have no arguments against him. I just think I like Robbie Ray for $1,000 less.
I am with you. I like Ray a lot. He's coming off a really good start. You think he's, the top pitcher on the slate, looks to be.
All right. I'm a no to McCullers, and I assume since you're always a no to McCullers, it's always also a no right here.
No.
All right. Dylan Cease couldn't pay me to play him.
No.
What about Kenta, who after a god-awful start to the season has kind of looked like himself the last two times out?
For sure. You are paying for him now. That's the only thing. So, I think he's in play, but, it's funny because in that Kansas City start, he wasn't owned at all. There was, other really good pitching options on that slate. And that White Sox start before that, he was real high owned. That's just due to the pitching options on those particular slates. And he got ownership last time against Detroit. He was really good. Not sure why he got taken out when he did. That was bizarre, I thought. I thought he might have gotten injured or something.
I wasn't watching this one. He's not a guy who's, the 97 pitches to start before is a little bit on the high end for him. So maybe it was just, I don't have a good answer for you, I guess. I'd like to tell you I do, I don't.
I feel like that matters more now that you're paying $8,700 for him. I'm not using him because of that, but I'm also not excited about spending decent money on him.
Well, especially when you got options right below here and a Charlie Morton who has been rock solid recently. And again, Tampa Bay is a good team, but they do strike out a lot. Morton's strikeout stuff has been a lot better. His last 5 starts, 7+. I think I would go with Morton over Kenta. He has more upside, in my opinion.
I agree. I like the matchup more for Maeda. As far as the floor goes, I definitely like Morton more than Maeda at the same price point. I just do. And I've usually been on the other side of this when they've been on the same, and Maeda's been much cheaper.
And then the other guy right there with us is going to be a 5-pack favorite, Chris Bassett, at home, where not quite the discrepancy as last season, but he's been better. You'll never brag about your Indians offense, so clearly we're not scared of them. And I think he's right there in the mix with these guys. One of the reasons I may not use Robbie Ray as the options down here, but it's not that much of a price savings that I don't know. I wouldn't guarantee that I abandon him either.
Yeah, I'm with you. Honestly, I think as I look at the slate, and I haven't really analyzed any cheaper guys, but right now I'd be pairing Ray with Bassett. We didn't talk about Woodruff either, really.
I'm not really that interested.
Yeah, I'm not either. But it seems like the Milwaukee guys, Woodruff and Burns, have kind of fallen back a little bit at least.
Woodruff is still pitching well from a real life perspective, but as far as like the strikeouts go, they've taken a hit. I will say I watched the entirety of the Cincinnati start last time out, and the 4 strikeouts is the number that bothers me, not the 9 hits. The 9 hits, there were like 8 of them with bad exit velo, and they just found holes that day. But the 4 strikeouts is alarming. They were getting the bat on the ball, and if I'm paying this much money for a guy, I want higher strikeout upside, and we haven't seen it religiously lately, other than the start in Arizona.
And unfortunately, like when you don't get a lot of strikeouts and guys are putting the ball in play, that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm not that interested. I like Robbie Ray and Gaussen better.
Yeah, I agree. And I like Bassett a lot. So, and I think Stroman's in play here also.
You don't think Pittsburgh's good?
Yeah, I mean, I never like spending big money on pitchers against Pittsburgh, but Stroman's not big money.
No. I mean, he's not much of a savings, though, over these other guys. Would you pitch him over the other guys, maybe?
I think I like him like about the same as Maeda.
Okay, that's fair. He's $800 cheaper. I could see how that would make a decision for you.
We've seen Stroman be like 9,500 and Maeda be 6,200 this year, you know? Like Urias, the same deal, but it's tough to use him in cores just because his floor is so low.
I think Urias, would you assume that he's going to be sub 10% owned, though?
Yeah, he'll be very low owned.
Okay, that's where I can get on board because when he's good, he misses bats. When he's bad, and then you're not winning tournaments anyway.
This is true. I mean, you're right. Yeah, I think the upside's real, especially at 7,800 at no ownership.
So I'd consider him. I wouldn't do it in cash games. It's a GPP play only, but I think he's definitely a guy that at lower ownership, muddled up with all these other guys who are relatively in the same price point. I mean, if you just check out this mid-tier right here, and we're talking Kenta Maeda, Morton, Bassett, even Malley might get a little bit of love, Marcus Stroman, Julio Urias. I don't think Urias is abundantly owned, and I would not find it crazy in the slightest that going up against a bad Colorado team that he's the highest scorer on this one.
He's averaging the most DK points on this entire page.
Yeah, and we brought it up a lot. Coors Field ain't magic. Also, after this extended break, like it's advantage pitcher, and he has higher strikeout stuff than some of these guys.
I agree. It's very boomer bust, and I like it in tournaments. There's other guys in play too. I mean, Kyle Hendricks, I don't think it's a bad play.
No, Arizona's god awful.
Exactly. Heaney has strikeout upside for sure. We know.
God, he's scary, isn't he? I mean, is there anybody that's more boomer bust than Andrew Heaney?
No.
Probably not. So I get it if you do it. I won't go here because I trust the other guys more. But I think we all know that he's very capable of 7 strong, 10 strikeouts, he's just as capable of 3 not strong, 6 runs allowed.
The thing I'll say about him, like between like Wainwright, Fetty, Hendricks, Heaney, like I don't think any of those guys aside from Heaney could be the leading scorer on the entire slate. Like I don't think Heaney's going to do it often, but like he's got that type of upside.
Yeah, no arguments here. Next up, the next guy that I would look at, Danny Duffy threw more pitches last time out, so I wouldn't say he's out of play, but I don't like it enough to use it.
Same.
The guy that I think you probably know where I'm going, I keep bringing him up, and I keep flexing with Flexen. I don't love the idea of picking on the Angels, but my boy Chris Flexen now, in his past 8 starts, has 5 really good ones.
Yeah, I mean, at this price point, too, got to be just in play. I mean, can't guarantee I'm going to use him. I feel like this does feel trappy, like now at even a cheaper price. We've seen him not pitch well, so it's not like he does this every start. But
you're right.
He clearly can pitch very well at this price tag. There's no arguments on that because he's done it multiple times, so I get why you like him.
Yeah, he just cut up this Angels team not that long ago. And another point that just, I don't know, take something out of this, laugh it off, do whatever you want, but the only really good hitter left in this lineup is Ohtani, who just, had a big week with the All-Star game. The home run derby could have messed up his swing. So if you're looking for a reason that Ohtani might not be great tomorrow, I mean, that could be it. It could mean absolutely nothing as well, but he's the only guy in that lineup I fear right now.
Yeah, I'll say that's like, give me Bassett and those other guys over him that aren't that much more expensive, but he's certainly in play if you want a just cheap guy.
And I think most of the DFS public lies with you on this one, that they're not buying this, and the reasons make sense. But I don't know, over the past 2 months, 28 or 29, 23, 22, 35, 29, he's had some really, really nice starts. So it's a little scary. You take the San Diego start out of there. He's actually had a pretty nice year.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's not for me, but again, I don't think it's like, the worst play in the world, all things considered. Wow, Chris Paddock's price has fallen.
Right. I mean, another guy who could also be a wild card would be JT Brubaker, who has pretty good stuff. I'm not ballsy enough to get here. He doesn't do it for me. I would definitely pitch flexing over him. But the Mets offense is, again, they're not far from perfect. He has occasional upside. I would never get there, though.
Yeah, give me Ray and Bassett, I think, or like two of the mid-tier guys.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my boy Flexen. Who do you think's higher owned, Chris Paddock or Flexen?
That's a good question. I don't think how when you asked the question, I think you thought I was going to say definitely Paddock. I don't think that, but I don't think Flexen either. I wouldn't be surprised if Paddock's higher owned. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to if both are just very low owned.
I feel pretty confident. By a lot, probably not, but I feel pretty confident. I think Paddock will be higher owned. I could totally be wrong on this one. I don't
he's
have
got
any numbers
go. And he's cheaper, so it makes sense.
That's why.
I mean, listen, I think that he's got the same upside Flexen has.
He started to really turn a corner in the middle of June. He had back-to-back fantastic starts against the Mets and Cincy, and since then has fallen back off the wagon. Two god-awful starts.
He is the type of guy I like you said, though, like first game back after the All-Star break. I like the cut of his jib. Yeah, I mean, I could see using him.
I could see it. I could also see stacking against him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could understand because nobody's going to do that. Not that I love Washington, but Soto, Turner.
Look what they just did to him in 2 innings.
Well, great point.
I mean, yeah. So that's definitely viable, and I don't think people will do that. I haven't checked prices or anything, but I don't think people will look at. I do think.
I got a point for you. I think Paddock might be higher owned than we expected because I'm thinking about the Dodgers pricing in Coors Field.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And maybe Flexen also. At some point, he keeps pitching while Flexen's going to get more ownership. Maybe tonight's that night.
Maybe other people start jumping on my bandwagon and flexing with Flexen because I feel like I keep bringing them up, and the times I use them, nobody uses them.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I first came back after the All-Star break. Senzatello's been okay at home. I don't feel like I need to stack the Dodgers, and I respect Urias, and there's other good offensive spots on this slate, so let's get it.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's just assume, though, right? When you look down here, Dodgers, people are going to want the Dodgers.
Yeah. I mean, I was literally about to say that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's almost hard for either one of us to argue that position to the other one because when we see the Dodgers in Coors Field, just assume they're chalk.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So I think we'll recap pitching at the end. We'll take a few seconds to think about it. Let's just touch on the offenses real quick. Stroman against Brubaker. My thoughts on this one, no interest in the Pittsburgh guys because, well, it's a slate, and why would you? I could understand using Mets guys. I'm not going to. Pete Alonso, 6K. Lindor.
Were good while I was gone. They had a couple really big games. So.
Oh yeah, I was hard on them one day. Not hard. I said we should go with them when the next game against Pittsburgh, and it was a lower scoring slate, so they were pretty good.
Yeah, they were good. Now they get the same pitching matchups. Even a worse ballpark though. They're not going to get love, obviously, because. They're not the Dodgers and Coors, but they're not my favorite offense either.
No. Okay, I'm remembering this now because on the 11th, in the middle of the show, I noticed that Conforto had 3 walks the day before, and I got excited like a small child about using him that day. And then he homered in his first at bat, so it made me feel better. I'm not as optimistic today though. For me, you take 4 days off like this, I think that's where. What he did the other day does nothing for me.
I also don't think Brubaker's that good, though, so I'll say that.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, so he's not the worst pitcher on the slate, but the Mets offense is better than him.
For sure. I mean, he's one of these guys that we talk about. The stuff's not bad, but he's a young guy who has a tendency just to not have it for multiple points throughout his starts.
And I don't think he's a guy that has like elite stuff. Like when he isn't like that is automatically going to be great anyways. You know what I mean?
For sure. All right. Moving down the line, Washington against San Diego, Paddock against Fetty. I kind of mentioned the idea of stacking against Paddock. It's still not the thing that I'm probably going to do. Again, if I set a ton of lineups, going with the Turner Soto combination, that makes a lot of sense. I just don't think I actually end up there.
Sam, I do like Soto a lot, though. I feel like he's starting to come around. Even when the one day I covered it, he was starting to come around. He had a couple big days. Like he's got an over 400 on base percent. He was talking about how, hopefully the home run derby, like he did it to kind of like help his swing because he was trying to get more lift on the ball. And he's a guy that like, he's such in control of his swing and he's in such control in the box. I trust him when he says stuff like that. Like a lot of other guys, maybe I wouldn't really believe it, but Soto, you can tell like he owns the box. He knows what he's doing in there.
We've been saying for weeks his season was going to turn around, and he's definitely shown signs of that lately. What about San Diego?
I think they get too much love, probably. Not that it's not warranted. I don't know, man. Like, pull up Fetty. Like, I know he had a real good stretch.
He had been good. His last 3 starts before the All-Star break were not great.
No, San Diego gets love. People love San Diego, man. Now they're on the road. I think they'll be a popular offense outside of the Dodgers. Like, not as popular as the Dodgers. So on a 14-game slate, if they go off, you can easily win with them. But they're not going to be unowned.
I agree. Okay, next up we got Boston against New York. I'll mostly just stay away from this game.
I don't think it's going to play with all the, got postponed tonight, all the coronavirus stuff. I don't think it'll play.
Okay. Well, great point. We'll move past that one. Toronto against Texas. I think the other team that gets love to go with the Dodgers will be the Toronto Blue Jays. At home against Jordan Lyles. Popular, big names. I'm going to assume that outside of the Dodgers, they're probably the second highest owned group of players.
I would say that they might – I would agree with that except for like I think they're maybe the second highest owned expensive group of players. There might be another cheap offense that people pair with the Dodgers or them that ends up being higher owned. But you get what I'm saying. I get what you're saying.
Okay. And if you want to go with Toronto, I totally get it. They are expensive, which is not new.
You can't pair them with the Dodgers, really, like the good players together.
Only if you throw 2 relievers.
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason they're not chalk, though, is because of the Dodgers. So even though they're going to be high owned, they're not going to be so high owned.
No.
That it's like they're 50%. I bet you get Toronto guys, my guess, 15 to 20%.
I agree. Then that's when you start to get like guys like into San Diego guys start to become interesting. You know what I mean? Like, because then you get like those other really good offenses. And this is always what happens when, teams are playing in cores. You get like the second and third offense, the third, fourth offenses are normally teams that get a ton of love.
And also, first day after All-Star break, it could be a weird day, man.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like, we skipped over the Yankees-Red Sox game. I don't think it plays, but if it does, you don't think, like, some of these Yankees righties are going to get love against – same thing with Boston. Like, this game will get some – won't be, like, chalk because of the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, but it will get love. Do you agree?
Sure. JD, 4,600 against the lefty. You get that one.
He's going to be, like, 15% owned.
Definitely. All right. Let's move over to Milwaukee against Cincinnati. I'm going to take the same approach I had in this game when it played the other day. I probably don't get to either pitcher, but I'm not really interested in the offenses.
I think Malley is a guy with upside. He's kind of like Urias, volatile. I like Urias more. I wouldn't use him here, but to say he doesn't have upside would be wrong.
Malley over the past month and a half has been consistently blah with one monster start against this exact same Milwaukee Brewers team.
Yeah, I don't love that he saved him so many times. He did struggle early the last time, though, if I remember, and kind of wiggled out of it. I'm just not really a Malley guy. On this slate, I won't use him. I like Bassett far more. This is not a game I'm really using it at all. I think Minnesota might be that offense that people pair with, those other offenses. But I like them a lot. This Matt Manning is not good. Wow, they're so cheap.
Yeah,
This is
Nelson Cruz will definitely get love at this price tag.
See, Minnesota is going to be offense that people use with Toronto or the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, Max Kepler at 2,500, that's criminal. I mean, even like Akil Baddoo at 2,300 leading off will get love too.
Yeah, but like Kepler, Kirilloff, Larnack, all in the middle of that lineup against Matt Manning, who sucks. Like, they might get more love than the Blue Jays or the Dodgers even. They're so cheap that people are just going to use these guys as fillers. Why?
Polanco, 3,200.
Why are they so cheap?
Yeah, I think you can say with good confidence, Arias lighting off, that the Dodgers-Twins combo is going to be chalk.
Yes, you can say with ultimate confidence the Dodgers-Twins combo is going to be chalk.
So you probably get some like Arias and Polanco chalk because they're middle infield where the Dodgers are weak too.
The highest owned Twins guys might be higher owned than the Dodgers guys.
You know, it's possible. I mean, those two offense.
There's a lot of expensive guys to use. Like cheap guys, like you don't get that many 3,200 Jorge Polancos.
No, you don't. So Minnesota will get a ton of love. All right, Tampa Bay against Atlanta, Morton against Waka. Morton's on my list. Whether or not I use him, not sure. Probably not trying to stack against Waka. And that sucks. I haven't talked to you since that happened. That really sucks about Acuna.
Yeah, that really does suck. Yeah, it definitely takes some appeal away from them. I don't think like Freddie Freeman, who was looking good, is a bad play at all if you can get there as a one-off. But yeah, not looking to stack too much there.
I'm more meant just two for baseball in general. There's a couple of young players with a lot of flair. We've been missing Mike Trout for a while now. Thank God Tatis wasn't out for the season, or else we'd be missing everything. I know Vlad's obviously picked it up a ton this year, so it's another young guy with some flair. But baseball needs these guys. Losing demographics, losing audience by the day. You need the Acuñas of the world to be healthy, and he's out for a while. So that's.
I was thinking about how Lindor was like in that category, but he just is like not that good anymore.
No, not at all. So okay, McCullers against Cease. I'm probably not going to use McCullers, but I'm not interested in the White Sox personally. I could see stacking against Dylan Cease, though. One, Houston's good. Two, like Cease has got nice strikeout upside, and he's got good starts. He also has, I don't know, in his last 10 starts, for example, 4 of them he's given up 5 runs or more.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy. Like I think his spin rate stuff is down. You've seen him get hit a little bit harder. Houston will be like unowned here.
Yeah, like Alvarez at 5,800, no buyers. Brantley and Tucker might be 5 to 10% only because they're so affordable.
Yeah, like 5 to 10%, which is more like 5% in my opinion, and that's really low for those price tags. And there's just so many outfielders. Like people will use those Twins against Matt Manning, the Dodgers. So I don't know. I think the Astros, especially the expensive ones, though. Yeah, Altuve. I don't know. What about Bregman? Is he back in our lives?
Doesn't appear so. I'll click on his name real quick, but I didn't think so. Okay. Should be back soon, but not quite yet, it looks like.
Cool.
All right. Oh, man. I'm not a big Keegan Aiken fan, and that pretty much is how everybody feels about him. I'm not big on the Kansas City Royals, but I certainly have no issues with using, Jorge Soler. Stuff like that. They're really, really cheap. I don't really like these guys. I don't think they're very good, but Hunter Dozier, Soler, they're very, very affordable.
Yeah, I actually think that they're a lot like the Twins, actually. The Twins are in a better spot, in my opinion, but I think the Royals also are way too cheap. Merrifield and Perez are expensive, but they're in great. I could see the Royals going off here. Like, first glance.
This Keegan Aiken guy sucks.
Yeah, he's awful. Like, great ballpark for them. Think about the ballpark upgrade for KC here.
Oh, it's in KC.
Oh, I always do that. Damn. Well, Keegan Aiken still sucks in any ball. So,
Yosemite, Little League, you name it, he sucks.
I would rather have it be in Baltimore for sure, but that will just cut the ownership. I don't think KC gets much love in this ballpark. Solairs of the world will, because people love him, but as a stack, no.
So, I mean, that's like, if I was setting one lineup, I wouldn't be stacking Whit Merrifield, Carlos Santana, and, Salvador Perez. But that's kind of intriguing on a site like this.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, San Fran against St. Louis. Wainwright against Gausman. I have no interest in the offenses here. It doesn't mean they can't go off. I just won't like them enough to use them.
I agree.
Okay. Dodgers against Colorado. This one would be all about the Dodgers offense. Betts and Bellinger, 5,500, 5K. AJ Pollock will be on my good side for a long time. When I hard recommended him, he goes for 40. I feel like that's the first time I've gotten him right in about 3 years, but I will remember that one forever.
For sure, no doubt. I love those.
So they're going to be popular. Everybody knows it. It's obvious. They're in Coors Field against Sensatella. So we both sound like we're kind of not going to go balls deep on this one, but it doesn't mean you can't one-off Max Muncy or Betts or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll only use them if people are like not going to use them, and that will never happen. So I won't be using.
Yep.
Because they're clearly in the best spot on paper. We can talk about what we want all day about how Sensatella's been good at home, but Dodgers are like one of, if not the best offense in baseball. We know the deal here. I mean, on paper, they're the best spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to throw in a one-off of Mookie Betts and you just think he has a big dick, cool, get it. I understand. He's awesome. He started to turn the corner over the last week before the break. Home runs in 3 of 5, a ton of singles to go with it. I get it. Mookie Betts is fantastic. But they just know everybody you roster is going to be chalk.
Exactly. This is what it is.
All right. Seattle against LA. This is one of those classic situations that my favorite play in this one's going to be Chris Flexen. Still probably not going to end up there. I could see using Heaney. I could see stacking against him. I could see using Ohtani. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't really think I use much of this game.
Same. I do think it's got upside from every angle, like you mentioned, which is probably why I don't use it, but it's there. So
literally exactly why I don't use it, right? Because you can make a really good conversation and argument for both sides of it, which is why on a 14-game slate, I probably don't end up in.
Agreed.
Neither one of us sets enough lineups that you have to take a look at like your 9th and 10th stacks or your 5th and 8th pitchers or anything like that. You set 3. I'm often one and done. You've got to play your favorites. I don't think any of these guys will be my favorites. That being said, Ohtani's pretty good. If you want to use him, do your thing.
Just got an interesting trade note while we were making this video, obviously, because it just came in. Jock Peterson, about to talk about the Cubs, traded to the Braves.
Okay. Interesting. I don't understand it, but hey, it's not really for me to understand, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they're still trying to make the playoffs. Fill in a little bit for Acuna. I don't know.
Merrill Kelly's been a lot better lately.
It's really expensive on DK.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to use him. I'm just saying, like, the Cubs are pretty cheap, and I was trying to make a case for him. You'd kind of mentioned Kyle Hendricks. Arizona's no good. This is another game, though. Like, I'm probably not going to use anything from it, really.
Okay, I agree with you, but I'll say that actually, I don't know. I was going to say between like the Flexen, Heaney, Seattle, Angels, and Hendricks, Kelly, Cubs, and Diamondbacks. Hendricks would be the guy I'd play most out of all of them. But then I think about it like, man, we talk about sports all the time. Arizona's been so bad. Maybe the All-Star break, like, I'm not saying they're good, but I think Arizona, talent-wise, is an average team. I think that, how the first half played out is if you played out the first half 1,000 times, that happens like once or twice. It happened. It is what it is. Maybe they start to play a lot better in the second half.
It's possible. You're a bigger Arizona fan than I am. I think we've well established that one throughout the season. So, I mean, it makes sense. I probably don't use anything from this game. Chris Bryant's really cheap. If you like him, do your thing. That's not where I'm going to be.
Same.
Although, you know what? I'm very hard on your Arizona Diamondbacks. And as an alternative stack to the Twins for really, really cheap, they should be unowned.
Oh, that would be unowned here.
So if you set a bunch of lineups and you're trying to get freaky.
I think Calhoun's back. 2K.
Are we talking Cole or Slim Cutta?
Cole.
Okay. I figured. Yeah, he was back the other day. You're right. 2K is 2K.
He might be leading off.
And despite not having a hit in a while because he hasn't played, we know the guy can hit.
He's had stretches where he's been like 45 plus 100.
For sure. All right, Bassett versus Eli Morgan. I think Oakland Athletics is another kind of interesting team to break down right here. You kind of pointed out a while back that, Matt Chapman had been, collectively better, which only lengthened their lineup. The season-long numbers don't look great, but he was so horrific for a long stretch that, he was showing signs. Elvis Andrus, definitely improved as the season progressed.
He's been really good. Like, Andrus hitting second for them has been like a revelation. He's been really good for them. At least, lately over the past, whatever. Like
5 double-digit games out of 9, right? I mean, he's not a monster power guy, but he's doing stuff.
Yeah, like he's solid in the 2-hole for now at least. And
3,200.
Definitely think Oakland's a stack here. One thing I hate about Oakland is they do the pinch hit thing, but the stack goes off, and you just have to live with it. Like, obviously, the ideal pieces are Olsen, Chapman, Murphy,
Laureano.
Man, careful lineup, though. I'm digging it here.
Oakland lineup?
Yeah, for sure. I like this lineup anyways. It's not like the best lineup in the world, but that alone keeps people off them a little bit. They don't have the biggest names.
They're going to be low owned. Like, we've discussed the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, the Twins. Like, we know where the love is going to go just by breaking this one down really simply. And Eli Morgan, although he's been a little bit better recently, he's got an ERA over 8 for a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
lots of home runs.
Yeah, the home runs are big for me when I look at these pitchers. 2 home runs in the majority of his starts. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys.
8 home runs allowed in 21 innings pitched at this level.
Yeah, like Oakland could tear him up here. And I don't know, some teams, and this is just a total gut feel, like I don't love in their first game back. A lot of these guys, like the Dodgers, a bunch of all-stars, etc. I feel differently about Oakland. Matt Olson was the only all-star. I think they started the second half good, especially because they started the first half off 0-6.
I mean, what do you think guys like Olsen and Chapman are? Like, I don't know, 3 to 6% maybe?
Yes.
But that's small.
Mm-hmm.
And why are they in such a worse position than Toronto and Dodgers? I get, like, Toronto and LA are better, and the ballparks are better and stuff like that. But if you think about it, I know, like, I brought this up like 5 years ago, and it's kind of always something that you've liked to like lean back on. Like, if you're telling me the Oakland stack is 5% owned and the Dodgers are 40% owned, do you, in your mind, think that they are 8 times as likely to go off? Because they're probably not. They're probably more likely, but 8 times more likely?
It's probably much smaller than people realize.
Probably twice, right? Like double, maybe double.
I think less than that. Like,
okay, and that's fair.
Like, I don't know what it is, but I think it's much smaller. There's just so much volatility in baseball.
Sure, and I'll only go double because the Dodgers are better, and it is Coors Field versus Oakland. But even like, shit, man, if you want to exaggerate and say 3 times, you're still at an 8-1 discrepancy probably on ownership.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you put it that way, it makes me like them even more. I like the whole stack a lot here.
Yeah, and again, it ain't always going to work out. When you play contrarian ways in baseball, you have to be prepared to get your zeros. And when the Dodgers scored 14 runs tomorrow, I mean, you probably weren't going to win big money even if you stacked them. You'd probably just be with, you're fortunate just to get your money back or double your money or whatever it might be. But, if they have just a bad day, the point you brought up with a whole bunch of all-stars and stuff like that, come back, need a day to kind of get the juices flowing. Meanwhile, Oakland, fighting with the Dodgers, fighting with the Astros out there, has a big game 1 back. I mean, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, also on that same note, like, man, you mentioned the Astros earlier, coming back off that massive win against the Yankees on Sunday. Like, I like that for them. I could see them
going to be low owned.
Inning.
So you guys know, I mean, we all know how Bellman plays. In basketball and football, I'm considerably more conservative. But in baseball, you talk about the volatility all the time. Like, I challenge everybody who's not a big baseball fan. watch a baseball game.
And I was
Watch all that goes into it with guys getting 4 or 5 at bats. Watch the bad strike calls. Watch the hard hit balls that are outs. It'll really talk you into thinking about it differently.
and like the volatility of scores in baseball and hitting is just unlike any other sport. Like you talk about all the time, like in NBA, you know, people want their scores to be like, you know,
You want Giannis to go 15, 15,
right.
15, 15.
And
That's
like,
just not the case.
That's not the case, but it's still much more the case than of baseball because he's still accumulating a score the entire time. If you want Giannis to get to 60, like he can have a bad, first, second quarter, but he can't have 0 in those quarters. It's impossible for him to get to his ultimate value if he, doesn't do anything in those quarters. Where in baseball, like you go from 0 to at least 14, depending on how many guys are on base in one swing. You go from 0 to 20 ultimately in one swing.
3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th
and
for
be
a guy who's 6K, and you've already hit value.
Exactly. And like the best play on the slate if you're like a cheap guy, like just from one at bat. So it's like, and when a guy goes for like 2 or 3 home runs, like I'm trying to think about what the equivalent of that would be like in basketball. Like, I don't think we see it really.
Well, I mentioned like how all of a sudden, after I like honestly feeling like I hadn't had AJ Pollock right, and probably since the Eisenhower administration, Hard recommended him on the 10th. He goes bonkers for 40 points. I don't remember how high owned he was. I assumed he was pretty popular. That's why I put him as cash lock. So it wasn't like you were really differentiating yourself from the crowd too much. I think he was chalky. But 3,500 times 40, I mean, that's the equivalent, like just hypothetically in basketball, like one of your 5,400 players going for like 89 points. Like that doesn't happen.
Why? How did you come up with that number?
I don't know, just hypothetically. That trust me, there's no math or science based around that.
Right?
Number. I'm just saying
like I was trying to think about that though. Like when Brad Miller hit 3 home runs, that's like you're like, 4K guy going for 80.
Oh, when Christian Wood was 3K and we called him out as a flyer and he went for like 60 points.
That's like a baseball score.
Yeah.
For
sure. Doesn't happen in other sports almost ever. That's why I had to go way back into the Wayback Machine for Christian Wood 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen in the other sports. And in
baseball, until like the last 2 like games of the season, right? When it's like all these no-name guys up there for 3K.
In baseball, it just happens regularly.
Yeah. No doubt, guys. All right, I'm going to bring my kids off to the park for a little bit. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Best of luck. No basketball tomorrow, but go Bucks when they're back.
Yeah, congrats, 2-2. I don't want to say congrats too early because I know that it's a grind, but man, Giannis really stepping up. Obviously, Middleton looking good, so you're feeling good for sure.
Reminds me of a message I sent you months ago when they played their second game of the year, and the Suns won by 1 on a bad foul call on Booker as time expired. And I was like, win or lose, I don't care. That was a great basketball game. I'm like, if the Suns and Bucks make it to the finals, which seemed like more of a stretch back then, obviously, now that we know it happened, I'm like, we're in for a series, man. It's going to be fun. Well, what do we got right now? 2-2, baby. It's a series.
I'll say this. I still like, I watch it and I'm like, I know we've talked about this multiple times. I mentioned this like right before I even left. Like, it still is like weird to me that like Milwaukee is not like the bigger favorite here. And these teams are like even. Like, and I do think Phoenix is a damn good team, but like, I think Milwaukee should be better. I'm not sure. Like, Milwaukee's been on this trajectory for a lot longer. I know Chris Paul, got added to the mix, etc. Maybe I'm still underrating Phoenix. I just view it like, man, Milwaukee's got to win this title because, like, I think I don't want to say it's a lucky or whatever unlucky title, but I don't think they're going to be in a position to get an easier one than the one they're in right now.
I mean, I can't argue that position. I don't, because I feel like there's a lot up in the air with the NBA right now. You know what I mean? Like, now we got Kawhi with the ACL injury. Like, where does he go next year? Like, he has the ability to leave the Clippers. And we know how he hated on the Spurs when they misdiagnosed his injury. Now he might have all the same venom with the Clippers. Where does he end up? Because he's going to miss time, but he'll be back for the playoffs next year. What if all of a sudden he's a Laker, and now it's LeBron, Kawhi, and Anthony Davis, and they're all healthy? Yeah, you're not beating them.
Okay, but even not, like, what about if it's just the Nets healthy?
Well, my whole point with the Nets is next year when they're healthy, they're going to be better. Why do we believe that they're going to be healthy? Yeah, Harden's been a warrior. Yeah, no, I get you at that point, though. Like, Harden's been a warrior. This was kind of a freak injury. But, like, Kyrie's almost never there for the playoffs.
fair. That's just one point, though. I just
Yeah.
don't think that they're going to be, whether it's the Nets or whether it's Philly trading Simmons, whatever it is. Like, I think that, like, they got to win it this year. I mean, not that they couldn't win it another year, but I think that I know it's their first time there, and it's not like it would be an ultimate disappointment, but I won't be surprised. I'll say this. If they lose this and they never make the finals again. I'm not predicting that, but I won't be, like, surprised.
No, I mean, also, like, Middleton's not young, right? Like, Giannis is pretty young, but I would guess, I'd venture a guess that Chris is like 30, 31.
Type vibe at all.
No,
like,
not at all. But that being said, Giannis is a child, and what if they had something?
Oh, Giannis can definitely stay there and continue building. And maybe this team, especially if they win, has another 2 to 3 years in it. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, you're bringing in a guy younger than Giannis who, like, you know what I mean? That's how you build it, for sure.
The core is all signed, like Drew, Middleton, Giannis. Like, they have all the same core. Like, all of a sudden, you get a free agent who's better than any, you know, not better than all the guys in the team right now, but it's just like, yeah, I'm going to come to Milwaukee. I want to win a title. An aging free agent, whoever you can think of that. I don't have anybody off the top of my head. And they're like, man, that was a missing piece. Another guy who can get buckets. Because defensively, they've been impeccable. And
I wonder what happens with the Suns. Like, if Chris Paul stays, or like if he goes to the Lakers.
I mean, that's another great point right there, right?
Like, a lot of talk about that.
Who is LeBron James right now? Is he old, or was he hurt? Or
we've said this, I feel like, so many times in the past 10 years or whatever, and every time he's defied logic. But at some point, age is going to catch up to it.
Sure, and the counter argument to that, which I brought up to you months ago, is this is the longest break he's ever getting in his NBA professional career.
Coming off the shortest.
Right? Like, you don't think, like, legitimately having months and months and months to get better, like, he couldn't be really good against next year? This was the MVP favorite before he turned his ankle.
Yeah, exactly. He was really good before he got hurt, for sure.
So I love that the NBA is wide open right now.
Yeah, and, like, I will say, I think maybe the most impressive to me in the entire playoffs has been Ayton. He's turned into, like, you know, like, I mean, there's a lot of talk. How could they draft Ayton, you know, before Luka? You know, now, like, you see when you have a team like Ayton has been in the playoffs, like, very impressive.
My problem with Ayton, though, is just based on the way his face looks. There's no way he's 22. He's got to be at least 40.
He's got Greg Oden syndrome.
Yeah, he's got to be at least 40. There's no way he's not retiring at the end of the year. You put him next to Chris Paul, and you're trying to tell me that, or even like Booker, you're trying to tell me him and Booker are the same age, because Booker looks like a baby, and Ayton looks like he should be, you know, signing his retirement papers.
Yeah, agreed. He's been really good, though, for them.
He has been. He's definitely shown that, like, maybe he won't be the greatest number one overall draft pick of all time, but, like, it wasn't a wasted pick.
Well, they have a team of guys that fit their roles, and he's one of them. He's not their best player, and he was a number one pick. So, like you said, he's not going to go down as, like, one of the greats ever or one of the, you know, top number one overall picks. But I think he's a fringe all-star on a yearly basis. Will make some, won't make some. You know, like, I think his career trajectory makes, like, 5 all-star teams, something like that. You know, he's not an MVP type guy, but they don't need him to be that, because they have Devin Booker, who's that guy. And they've, you know, got guys that fill their roles. Bridges, Crowder. They fill their roles better than any team in the league.
Good. Campaign coming off the bench every once in a while with a little bit of fire, and then he disappears for games at a time. As a Bucks fan, I couldn't feel more fortunate that we got out of last night with a win, because honestly, they played terrible. And I mean, other than even Middleton, they're like, oh, he scored 40. He still shot under 50% from the field. He was great in the fourth quarter, and he closed that game. And I'm really, really laughing looking at all the stuff on the internet. Like, I saw one right before I got on here, and it was the trajectory of Chris Middleton. Gets dogged as being a good player, plays like Kyle Kuzma, plays like Michael Jordan. It's considered overrated, it's considered underrated, because you just never know who he is on a daily basis. Just entertaining to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I actually watched a lot of that game last night, and was impressed just at the high quality. It made me, you know, just think about the days the Cavs were in the finals. It's exciting stuff.
Bucks got lucky. Chris Paul chose a great game to play terrible, because Giannis looked nervous early.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, he just looked nervous, right? Like, too amped up. It reminded me of Brett Favre back in the day. Just like his first 5 throws would sail over the receiver's head because he was so jacked up and ready to go.
Speaking of that, what's up with Aaron Rodgers? Like, I'm genuinely asking.
I have no idea. I legitimately, he's not telling anybody anything that I know about. I have no clue.
When does it get to the point where like you start thinking about it? And I'm again just curious. I'm not like
It got when I first read the first tweet. I don't know. I mean, like I've been thinking about it for a while. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, so that kind of sucks. Sorry.
He's pretty like. I mean, bomb's the word. No real idea. But I was going back to the game. Fortunate to get out of that game because Devin Booker was awesome. And when I thought Phoenix was going to win that game, all I was going to say to Bucks fans is, what are you going to do? Devin Booker hit amazing shot after amazing shot after amazing shot with multiple hands in his face. Sometimes you just got to look at your opponent and be like, nice on, man. Like, those are great shots. You made them all.
They talk about that in the NBA a lot. Like a good offense, beats good defense a lot of times.
You watch the slow-mo replays of those Booker shots, he's got 3
like
hands in his face, and he's like falling back, he's making them. And like, not like they're bouncing in, like nothing but net.
Yeah, they look like Kobe. I'll say this. Have you heard Kendrick Perkins talk about how Middleton's the Batman?
If Kendrick Perkins talks, I just assume the opposite's true.
It just makes no sense to me. They say, like, he's the Batman because, and they're not calling him the best player on the team. They're saying because when things...
No, not they, he. It's just him.
Well, and it was him and Marcus Spears today, both saying it. So they were saying, Batman is who they call when no one else can do the job and they have to finish the job off. And like, that's Chris Middleton. That's Batman. My whole thing is like, the Bucks can't even get to that point without Giannis. Like, they're not even like, if Giannis is off this team, Middleton is a good player. Like, the Bucks are a fringe playoff team without Giannis.
So my question is, what kind of Jeffrey Epstein level stuff does Kendrick Perkins have on ESPN that they continue to like pay him money for his analysis? Because I don't know I've ever heard him say one thing where I was like, great take, Kendrick. Like, I listened to him and I'm like, one, like, you're not a very articulate speaker. And your takes make no sense. All you do is ride LeBron's jock. And I'm a LeBron fan. I'm not a LeBron hater. It's like all he does is talk about how great LeBron is and like that everything else makes no legitimate sense at all whatsoever.
I like his insight. Like, he's funny. I like his insight. And yeah, you have to kind of put up with him, but I like him more than you do. I'll say that.
I think he never makes any sense to me. Like, there's a lot of really, really good former NBA players out there with great analysis about the game. I just don't think he's one of them.
Fair enough.
So anyway, all right. Y'all have a good day. We appreciate you watching. Thank you for letting us talk NBA for a little bit. We hadn't had an opportunity to discuss basketball. Obviously, I'm deep in the midst of that right now. So go Bucks. But I will say this. I respect the Suns. And if it wasn't for the Bucks playing in the finals against them, I would be rooting for the Phoenix Suns. So if we are to lose to a team, I don't mind seeing Chris Paul get a chip. I'm a big Booker fan. Ayton has grown on me. And I respect the rest of the boys on that team and Coach Monty Williams.
Sweet. Well, good. Great back video with you. And thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Later, everyone.